All right, so this is going to be the recap for the intro to Poi Tosses we did for community night. So what we started with is we're going to be working from our pendulum in wheel plane. And the idea here for our first toss is going to be a underhand toss. And the idea with this is we want to release it as the poi is moving vertical. And we want to release it so that if we just release our grip, what's naturally going to happen is the knob is going to want to go around the far side of the poi. So from the side, what that's going to look like is here. If I release, and it should just come back down to right where my hand is. So the ideal toss, I'm going to leave my hand where it is, and the rope will fall back in to where my hand was. So that's going to be our first toss. The next toss we worked on is going to be a reverse underhand. So we're still coming from this pendulum motion, but instead I'm going to flick the knob so that it goes in the opposite direction, and I'm going to be able to catch it here. From the side, what that's going to look like is, that's not a very good one, but as I get to the top, I'm going to flick with my fingers and have the rope go in the opposite direction. That same concept can be applied to having the knob go in other orientations. So now we have a horizontal underhand toss, which is going to be, it's going to come up, and I'm going to flick towards the center line of my body. And I can also do the same horizontal where I flick towards the outside of my body. And the rope's going to come around to the point that we were in. Again, those are all working from wheel plane and all working with a pendulum motion. We can also take that to a wall plane. So wall planes where we're going to be working with the poi right in front of us. With the pendulums, we can go to our to the underhand toss that we started with. So we'll have the underhand toss where it's on that side, come back to a pendulum and wall plane, and then we can also do that with kind of a reverse toss on the opposite side. From the side, what that's going to look like is, so it should look pretty similar to our wheel plane, just moved into our body in a different orientation. From there, we can also take that, and instead of catching it on the same side of release, we can now try to toss the poi so that it goes around. So with this, what we're going to do is we're going to release it a little bit later so that the poi arcs over top of our head, and we catch it on the opposite side. So we've got that. The side, what that's going to look like is it's going to go up and over our head, and then we catch it. So that was our underhand toss. The same thing would apply for if we wanted to do any of the flick tosses on either side, and you can practice those as well. But the next concept we want to move into is a no-beat toss. So all the tosses we've been doing so far, when we release it, the handle is doing one full rotation around the poi, and then we're catching it. We'll call that a one-beat toss. The no-beat toss, our goal is going to be to release it and have the handle and the head moving in kind of parallel arcs. A good way to start this is if we're doing kind of a small extension within our body, then as it's going across the top of that, we can start to release and then catch again. And so you can start that small and then try to extend the amount of, sorry pup, and then try to extend the amount of time that your hand is released from that. What that's gonna work really well for would be like if we're doing a 3D weave, when we get to that side, we can do a toss, that no-beat toss, and we can make it continuous. So it can kind of continuously happen, and then we can go back and do our 3D weave. So that's going to be no-beat tosses in the wall plane. Those are all the kind of basic ideas of different types of tosses. Underhand with one beat, underhand with no beat, flicks in different directions. From there, we can start to think about applying all those tosses in at different release points. So release points that we can think about, it would be like a under leg release point. So it's still going to be that 1 beat toss, 1 beat underhand. It can go underneath either leg, and it can even go. It can even go from. We were kind of doing when we're moving that underhand. We can also do as if we were moving forward and go around the leg and catch there as well. So let's try to get one of those clean. Perfect. So we can do under leg release points. We can do behind the back release points. So again here, it's the same rainbow toss that we did before, but instead we're gonna release behind our back and try to have it go directly over our head. And then, so we can alter our release point is one concept. The other concept might be that we can alter our catch point. So from our standard underhand toss, I can kind of try to toss to right beside my ear, and then reach behind and catch, and then bring it back around. So again, that's underhand, up behind the head, and try to catch back here. And then another way we can alter the catch would be, this is a really good way when we're fire spinning to get practice with actually touching the fire with our hands, is to do that no beat toss back towards ourselves, but instead of catching at the handle, we can interrupt the toss, catch the head, push it back out. So that's gonna look like this. We'll push it back out. If you're just learning it with fire and you wanna start getting comfortable, you can do that even as a quick pat. So like a smack and back out. From the side, that's gonna look like either a catch and release or a smack straight out. And then the last kind of toss we talked about was all of these tosses have kind of come from more of a reverse spin position. You can also do a overhand spin position. And then think about going over top of that shoulder, over top of the same shoulder that the poi is in. And that one you wanna make sure it goes all the way in front, and then you can catch again. So those are the different types of tosses and ways we can alter them. And then we talked about how this can play into your spinning specifically. So the first thing we pointed out was that all of these underhand tosses, if I'm going in that reverse position and I do an underhand toss, I am now going in a forward spin position. So this can be a great way in your free spinning to change direction. We can also work on doing tosses two hands. You can do them both at the same time and catch, or you can do them, and so what that would look like here, it's pendulum at the same time. We could also do kind of toss one to the opposite hand, switch hands. So this would be like the start of juggling. So from the front, that's gonna look like that. We can also think about alternating. So you can do one, pendulum, and then two. And just find different ways to work it into your free spinning. And then the final toss we worked on would be also, instead of just changing the toss or the catch, you can also change how our arm moves. One that I really like is to add effect. So you can do our underhand toss, bring the arm away, and try to have it come back and meet the poi at the same time. So what that's gonna look like is that. And that was our class on Intro to Poi Tosses.